Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Nat Walsh here with you. I have a card for a friend who just had a birthday. She's got the card so she knows who she is. This is with the Heffy Doodle stamp set Koality Hugs. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. And it's super cute. If you watched my last video with my haul, you would have seen this stamp set. It has little koalas all over it. So, and for anyone who's new to this channel, if you haven't already figured it out, I'm an Aussie. And we have koalas. They're not koala bears, they're just koalas. I've got this tree that I've stamped 2 times. And I'm going to colour them both. So you're not going to see them, I'm going to colour them both the same, I should say. Finish my sentence. So you're not going to see me colouring each one of the trees. I'm just going to do it once and we'll go with the flow. So we've got E47, E33 and E31. Now these do need a little bit of work blending, but we don't really want it to blend because it's a tree and trees have texture. I'm going to do all the branches. So there's a koala that is lying on the branch, and it's going to be used with the same color. So I'm going to go over this twice just to make sure the darker E47 doesn't stand out too much. Now I thought I'd show you this one as well, only because he's a little bit of a different perspective with him snoozing on the branch. I've never seen a koala snooze like that, but he's pretty stinking cute, so I don't care. They usually will nestle them sort of in like the other branch that has my left hand on, or did have my left hand on. They will get right up into that corner up in the top. They will wedge themselves in there and they will sleep basically. It's pretty cool, really. My leaves are G85 and G82. I will go over these 2 times, but we're going to keep them relatively simple with our colouring, with just the darkest down the edge. He has a little phone, so I know we're not sticking to like reality, but he's too stinking cute. So the phones, there was phones because I cut them out, I coloured them, and then went to spend some time on the couch with my husband watching something. I cut him all out. This is bone dry. We'll come back to that in a minute. I cut him out, walked into my craft room, turned around and my phone was gone. So my middle child and I, bless him, he helped me trying to find it, to no avail. So there was 2 phones. So somewhere on the floor is another phone. The W4 was dead dry. Now the lids were on it properly. I heard, leave a comment down below if you've had this experience. I have heard that there was a change. They tried to do something which basically led, I can't remember what they did or anything else, but they basically led that some of the sketches just dried up. And unfortunately that sort of becomes a real pain in the neck, because here in Australia, I don't think anyway, you're going to spend however much. I replaced it the other day and it was like $12 Australian dollars, and that's $12 that I couldn't use, like in the sense of my other my other W4 was dead dry. So it's no point in redoing these, like re-inking them, because the tips on them are hard, and it's just, in my experience, it just doesn't work. You have to replace a tip and then it just dries out all over again because there's just a bolt. So I'm using W6 and I used a little bit of tip to tip technique with the W2 to provide that little bit of a breakdown, because I didn't have anything else. So we've got W6, the W2, the WO. The WO is mostly on his little belly and just to blend it all out a little bit. And I've used some very, very light flicks on all my koalas just to make them appear to have a little bit of texture in their bodies. The noses I used, so the phone I used N4 and N1. They're on my desk. That was all there was to it. The noses of the koala was 100 and C9 for a little bit of highlight. I've just cut into my arms of my koala because, well, he was dang cute. In his ears on the bottom of his feet, I used an R20 and blended that out with the WO and the W2. Just a little bit of the W2 and then blended out with the WO. Just making sure his hand sort of sticks down to his little phone there. I feel like I'm talking really, really fast, but he's very cute. My next little do that I'm going to do is he's going to be clinging onto the tree. So I like my little characters to, I don't have the dies, and I'm making an assumption I don't think the die probably actually has like slits so he will go down. I don't know. But we're going to make his little arms go in and around the tree. So he's just holding onto the tree. My focus is a little bit out because it tends to focus onto the mat rather than on my fingers. I'm using a little bit of multi-matte medium just to make sure he sticks there. And there's my little glue, my little koala. I've got the whimsical wonky rectangles. These are also by Heffy Doodle. And just figuring out where my placement of my words are. This is wishing you a quality birthday. And yeah, so a friend of mine had a birthday. Happy birthday again. And this is her card. We've got a little bit of tumble glass. I'm going to sponge around the edges, and then I'm going to bring in a My Favorite Things cloud, the one that rotates around. You get the different levels, different interests of the clouds. This sort of part mostly is very, very light, which is what I wanted. I didn't want it too much of a strong contrast. This is all going down behind the koalas, so it's just a little bit of interest in the background. When I cut my koalas out, I didn't go around. I'll get back to that. I'm just marking out where my rectangle is going to sit because I decided to do a little bit of color in the background. Lost Shadow is super light. Now, this is not dark enough. So what I'm going to do is come back in with some pumice stone and just darken around the edges. So we'll have the light shadow, lost shadow on the outer edge. And then just underneath the rectangle that we've got is going to be, see, it's just too light. It just looks like white. Pumice stone. That's going to be up close. I didn't buy the dies because it's just Heffy Doodle is English and an English company, and I love it, and they're gorgeous. But I'm just trying to get as much of the stamps that I can, and I'm a little bit of a masker anyway. I've got a little bit of white. Okay, note to self: wash your microfiber cloths. Can I just say that? Because there you go. Thankfully, I thought it was a bit of fluff. I thought it might have been a bit of, like, I don't know, a bit of fluff or something. But thankfully, it all fits in underneath my rectangle perfectly. This is a little bit too small, too big. So we're going to go down with the next size, which is still going to be perfectly fine. I've got to dry that off beforehand, so we're going to hit it with a bit of a heat gun. So we've got the stitching in the large bits. which was a paper rose nesting rectangles, the Aussie A4. So I'm using the BOOO just because I didn't want to cut all those bits out because it's just going to be too hard. So I've used a BOOO just to give it a little bit of a blue background. Now I will come back to that koala that's lying down to give it a little bit, the parts that I haven't cut out, to give it a little bit of blue. Again, trying to figure out where I'm going to place my sentiment. I'm going to stamp this down with some Versa Fine because it's nice. It's a nice, good sticky ink. Making sure it's straight there. I'm going to stamp that. And it stamps out perfectly. Just so great. I did do a little bit of an extra one only because I wanted it a little bit darker, but it stamped out really, really well. Dry all that off. It warped a tiny little bit, but it's not going to be a big deal. My koalas here are going to be mounted up. I'm trying to save you a little bit of time, so we're going to, I cut all those out because you don't need to see me plastering these things with foam. This is one little koala. Then we've got our tree, so I want one up tall, and he's going to be plastered down flat, or glued down flat, shall we say, to our little panel. And the one with our little koala, he's going to be raised up with a little bit of foam. My foam is very thin, so it's not giving a lot of bulk to this card at all. Trim him off. Now we've got trees that look like they're just sort of stopping, so we're going to go back in with E47, E33 on. I will come back to the koala who's lying down. And there we've got our little koala with the phone. And he's going to be glued on flat. I will ground him with a little bit of, because he's pretty much down the bottom, but he needs to have a little bit of ground to him. So I'm going to use the N4 and the N1 just because they were on my desk. They were there. And it doesn't matter. Blend that out with a little bit of N1. And we finish off blues. So it's a very, very light sort of colour. The whole panel is going to be raised up a little bit with some foam. The next thing I'm going to do... Sorry, I had to sneeze. So we're raising him up. I forgot what I was going to say. There we go. We finished a little bit of just grounding into the wall. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of stickles, but using the point of a tissue, I'm going to flatten those out and remove some of the sparkle. Do koalas normally have sparkle? No, but these are my koalas. The phone and their noses are going to have a little bit of glossy accents. And while that dries, we try and add some of our stardust stickles. And I'm literally not squeezing the bottle and just adding a couple of little dashes here and there. But at this point, they look like the little dashes. So I'm going to use a tissue just to smooth those out, making sure that I don't get it in the glossy accents because I'm talented, what can I say? I thought there was a little gooby on my card, but there wasn't. That was it. I hope you're well. That's it for my card for today. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.